A few months ago, home office was an option just for very few people. Nowadays, it became common for many of us. But is this going to stay? Will our homes be our future offices? Will we still say, I go to work in the morning, or will we work everywhere and every time? These questions are in the focus of our responsible innovation story this week. My guest today is Johann Schachner, CEO of Atos Austria. Atos is a global leader in digital transformation with more than 100,000 employees worldwide in 73 countries and an annual revenue of 12 billion euro. Atos specializes in communication, cloud services, big data, and cybersecurity technologies, which helped us to adapt to the recent lockdown and which have strong effects on our private lives and the future of work. Mr. Schachner, will our homes be our future offices?
We have what we call this portfolio digital workplace. Digital workplace is what we are doing here currently. That means simply the technology, what we have on our laptops or our mobile phones, smartphones, in order to contact or get in contact to each other, in order to connect ourselves to our company portals, in order to do our job. Give you an example where I'm really fighting for a very long time now is to make really aware what this kind of technology can do in context with climate change, in context, let me say, even with workplace on the countryside, even in context with families, with support of children and all those stuff. So this is really an enabler of a different society, of a future society where this kind of technology will help us to work in a much more productive and in a much more efficient way. It is not a technology which replaces us or which substitute things, but which enables us to generate a new way of working at the end. Please understand me right. Corona is really a disaster at the moment, but Corona pushed us to use this kind of technologies and have made aware to all of us what this kind of technology can do for us. Think, let me say, 20 years ago, if we had Corona 20 years ago, really the entire life would have stopped at the end, and we would have most probably not only 7 points, which is dramatic enough impact on our GDP, but we would have most probably 50% or even more. But this technology helped us to continue, at least in a lot of areas, in a lot of domains, our daily life in a different way. So it is our office in the pocket, but it is even more. It is an enabler of a different way of living, of a different way of working.
So this means that working and living at home after Corona will not be the same as before.
Before it was not necessary, in that way to rely on this kind of technology. But over the last 6 and 8 weeks, and even in the next at least 1 month or two, we have to rely on this technology. And people have understood that this has advantages and disadvantages. One advantage is clearly that we spend less time in cars and traffic jams and things like that. We have much more time available for ourselves, for our families. On the other side, we have to organize us much better. And leaders in our organization, leadership team, have to think about how we steer our employees. And this is different now than it was 6 weeks ago. And all these kind of questions came on the table, and I think a lot of fears are decreased. A lot of other fears appeared, but the majority of fears are decreased, and people understood that this is possible to use this technology, and therefore I'm quite sure that this will change our life forever. And it is a kind of a booster, a kind of an acceleration of implementing this technology. The technology was already on the way, but with this Corona crisis now, it is a lot of things will be sustainable.
What kind of fears decreased and what kind of new fears came up?
The most important principle is that you have to trust your employees if they work not in your office and they work at home, for example. And this is one example where I really strongly believe that a lot of leadership people have understood that this is a different way of working, and this different way of working is as effective as the working in the office. Other things are important that we have a very strict and a close eye on it is that we support employees that they manage they work with this technology in a proper way. That means that we inhibit that the technology controls us much more than we want to have. And here I think people learn as well.
As managers, we have to trust people more, and as employees, we have to protect our work-life balance better. Otherwise, our whole life is work.
You are totally right, and this is and as a responsible management, we have to take care of this, and this is what we as Atos try to do. And people will learn this or have learned it already, and will learn this much more and much better. And to rely on this technology, but and control the technology, and not be controlled from the technology.
Do we need different organizational structures for the future life and the future home?
From a technology point of view, from a visionary point of view, this is clear the case, and it is already there. When I look into Atos, as the Corona crisis appeared, immediately 100,000 employees worked in home office. In that second, it was no issue. And the reason why it was possible is because we have an organization in place. We have our business is a project business. That means we have one project beside each other, and people work together in projects, and people work together in projects based on their competencies, not because they are from Austria or they're from Switzerland or they're from India or wherever. Based on this, people are used to work in this virtual world much better than most probably the one or the other traditional or hierarchical organization. I think in the next years, architects will think about how we build our homes in the future. They will think about this. How can we create spaces? And I speak not about rooms or offices at home. I think about how we can integrate home working in a normal 60 square meter flat, which will be built new. You have to find a balance between office and working in different environments. And the office is important as well. You have to bring people into the office because it's simply necessary for creating loyalty, to creating loyalty to the brand, and the teams must work together. They must see each other. There must be interactions, etc. So it is not a question of less offices. It's a question of how we design our offices in the future to enable the different way of working and working together.
Do we lose something, for example, about informal connections?
It is important to have in parallel for such meetings what we have, always a chat open. Chat platform, and to act, to communicate one by one or 1 to 2, and so to have kind of informal parallel communications.
Let's talk about benefits and engagement for society in a broader scale. Let's talk about corporate social responsibility. What does responsibility mean to you in the context of innovation?
Technology, and I'm discussing this very loud in the meantime and very open, can help really to implement or to create, to define really strategic projects, large strategic projects, which helps us in order to solve the really critical situations what we have. And I mean not COVID. COVID is crucial, clear, but we should not forget we have the climate situation and we have much more issues on this planet currently, and technology is most probably one way, or at least it will be at least one instrument to help here and to support here. The COVID example is another example what technology means for our society in general. Yeah, we have now passphrase like social distancing, but at the same time, we are close together because we are linked via technology. It was not possible before Corona to think about this or to discuss this in a broader sense because nobody understood this. Yeah, that this is really can work or that this really can happen. And there are a couple of prerequisites for this. One is clearly that the network technology will be rolled out much faster. 5G is key, that we have available the necessary bandwidth in all areas in Austria or even in Europe. But if this is in place, why not? Maybe 1 day or 2 days a week, and the other 3 days are in the office. But it helps a lot, and it decreases the climate balance. What we have, it has an impact of a lot of things. But this is a different society what we have or will have in the future.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you for the invitation, and it is always a pleasure to share thoughts about technology.